When a woman understands who she is, she doesn't have to announce it. She doesn't have to scream, shout, or even explain. Her presence speaks before she opens her mouth. There is a weight to her walk, a grace in her silence, a thunder in her stillness. A queen never runs, she walks. And when she walks, the world trembles. Not because of her shoes, not because of her outfit, not because of her voice, but because of the authority she carries on the inside. A woman with purpose, with vision, with divine assignment doesn't chase, she commands. She reigns. You've been running for too long. Running after validation, running after attention, running after love, running from your past, running towards someone else's future, and running in shoes that were never meant for your feet. But let me tell you something today. You don't have to run. The crown on your head does not allow for panic. It was built for poise. It was shaped for stillness. It was molded for mastery. Because when you truly know who you are, you realize you never had to chase anything. What was meant for you was always on the way. There's a reason lions don't roar all day. They roar when it's necessary. And when they do, everything listens. You're trying to be loud to prove you're not weak. But strength isn't in noise. It's in stillness. Power isn't in the volume. It's in the presence. You think you need to explain yourself to people who never had the capacity to understand your journey. You think you need to defend your name in rooms that were never built for you. But queens don't enter rooms to be accepted. They enter rooms and shift the atmosphere. The reason they can't understand you is because you weren't made to be understood. You were made to be followed. You were made to lead. You were made to influence. You were made to walk through fire and still smell like heaven. You were made to carry weight without showing sweat. You were made to walk through storms and come out with peace. You were made to stand still when everyone else is running and still come out ahead. Don't you know that your stillness is strategy? Your calm is a weapon. Your silence is a sword. Because while everyone else is sprinting, you're walking. But your walk is divine. Your pace is prophetic. Your stride is sovereign. Let them laugh, let them mock, let them question, let them underestimate you. You don't need their applause. You don't need their recognition. You don't need their approval. You weren't crowned by them, so don't you dare try to keep it in place for them. Your anointing didn't come from people, it came from pain. And the ones who have bled the most walk the slowest, because every step is deliberate, every movement is purposeful, every decision is prayerful. Queens don't just walk, they walk with God. And when you walk with God, the ground under your feet obeys. The winds hear your footsteps. The heavens respond to your direction. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to be something. A representation of grace under pressure. A force of peace in the middle of confusion. A light in dark places. A woman of vision when everyone else is lost. That's why the enemy keeps trying to get you to run. He wants you frantic. He wants you rushed. He wants you reactive. Because he knows that if you ever decide to slow down, plant your feet, and square your shoulders, everything around you has to shift. Your walk is warfare. Your calm is confrontational. Your rest is resistance. Because when a queen walks, she doesn't just walk for herself. She walks for every woman watching, every daughter looking up, every generation coming next. You were born to reign, not just in success, but in suffering, not just in applause, but in rejection, not just in blessings, but in burdens. You've been asking God to remove the weight, but what if He's trying to show you how to carry it with elegance? What if the crown is heavy on purpose? What if the pressure isn't to break you, but to prove you? You don't have to run from the battle. You are the battlefield. You don't have to escape the heat. You are the fire. You don't have to prove your strength. You are the standard. So walk, woman of destiny. Walk like you know who you are. Walk like you know where you're going. Walk like you know what you've survived. Walk like you remember what God told you in the dark. Walk like you've already won. Walk like the crown was made for you. Walk like the crown was made for you. Walk like the betrayal didn't bury you. Walk like the tears watered your roots. Walk like the nights of loneliness made you strong. Walk like the heartbreak was training. Walk like the delay was divine. Walk like the pain pushed you into purpose. Walk like the desert was your development. Walk like the silence was sacred. Walk like the oil is on you. You're not average. You're not ordinary. You're not common. You're not replaceable. You are royal. You are resilient. You are redeemed. You are relevant. You are powerful beyond what they can see. And the problem is, they can't see what's inside you. So they assume there's nothing there. But God placed something in you that cannot be duplicated, manipulated, or replicated. He placed in you a crown of favor, a mantle of wisdom, a robe of strength. So no, you don't have to run after anything. All you have to do is walk, and when you walk, demons tremble. When you walk, chains break. When you walk, doors open. When you walk, heaven pays attention. You're not waiting to become a queen, you already are. You don't need a ceremony, a stage, or a crowd. You've already been chosen, already been appointed, already been approved. And the world isn't shaking because you're loud, it's trembling because you are walking in your purpose. And when purpose meets posture, the earth has no choice but to respond. Walk, queen. Walk with intention. Walk with integrity. Walk with identity. Walk with fire. Walk with grace. Walk with God. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to move with urgency, desperation, or noise. She understands that she was not created to chase anything that belongs to her by divine design. The moment you begin to run after things, you signal to the world that what you're chasing has more value than what you carry. And that's a lie. When you truly understand your assignment, your identity, your calling, you recognize that you are the value. You are not a seeker of favor. You are the space favor seeks to rest in. You don't beg for doors to open. You walk like you are the key. You don't cry for seats at the table. You walk like you own the house the table sits in. In a world obsessed with speed, hustle, and striving, the woman who walks in stillness radiates something sacred. She isn't slow because she lacks direction. She moves deliberately because she knows the weight of her every step. She understands that chasing dilutes her dignity. So she waits, not in weakness, but in wisdom. She walks not because she lacks desire, but because she trusts timing. You see, running is reactive. But walking is prophetic. Running says, I'm trying to catch it. But walking says, it's coming to me. And that subtle shift in posture changes the atmosphere. It changes the way heaven and earth respond to her. She doesn't run after relationships that don't recognize her. She doesn't chase applause that only lasts for a moment. She doesn't pursue popularity that fades with trends. She walks with discernment. She walks with vision. She walks with, and because she walks in authority, creation makes room. The universe bends around a woman who walks like she knows God sent her. The ground shifts, the air thickens, everything takes notice, not because she made a scene, but because she carries weight. There's oil on her stride. There's fire in her stillness. And there's a crown on her head that was forged in private pain, not public praise. She doesn't need to run because her calling isn't going anywhere. What God has for her doesn't move when people do. It doesn't expire with time. It doesn't get taken by someone else. So she doesn't panic when others move ahead. She doesn't flinch when she's overlooked. She knows that divine things arrive on divine schedules, and she walks with that knowledge, with that peace, with that power. And the beauty of it is this: when you no longer chase what you already possess, you stop losing your voice trying to be seen. You stop draining your strength trying to be chosen. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of mastery. It is the proof that you are no longer ruled by impulse, but by insight. The woman who has been through enough storms knows how to be still, not because she's doing nothing, but because she understands the value of doing the right thing at the right time. The world may call it passivity, but heaven calls it wisdom. While others are busy reacting, explaining, defending, and chasing shadows, she stands still and lets her peace speak for her. That's power. That's strategy. That's the quiet confidence of someone who knows who she is and where she's going. In a noisy world that confuses movement with progress, she has learned how to discern the difference. She doesn't move just because something moves around her. She doesn't respond to everything that tries to provoke her. She doesn't lower herself to engage in battles that don't match her destiny. That kind of restraint is rare, and that kind of restraint is spiritual. It takes more strength to remain calm in chaos than it does to shout over it. It takes more power to hold your tongue than it does to unleash your anger. But that's the mark of someone who rules herself. Because if you can rule you, there's nothing you can't rule. She knows that panic is a thief, that rushing is an enemy, that emotional reactions open doors the enemy loves to walk through. So she chooses stillness as her weapon. Her silence becomes her sermon. Her calm becomes her covering. And while others wonder why she isn't fighting back, she's already won by not getting pulled in. She refuses to be controlled by external noise. She is tuned in to a frequency that doesn't require volume. It requires vision. She listens inward, not outward. She walks by faith, not frenzy. She is guided by peace, not pressure. The devil is not always after your possessions, he's after your peace. Because if he can steal your peace, he can break your focus. And if he can break your focus, he can disrupt your direction. That's why your calm is so dangerous. That's why your ability to be still infuriates the forces trying to distract you. Because when you stay calm, you keep your clarity. When you keep your clarity, you stay aligned. When you stay aligned, you stay anointed. And when you're anointed, everything around you must adjust. So she doesn't scream to be heard. She doesn't chase to be noticed. She doesn't fight to be seen. She simply walks in stillness, and everything that needs to find her will. Her stillness is not hesitation, it is preparation. It is the discipline of a soul that knows who her source is. She doesn't need to do more to prove she's powerful. Her posture is the power. Her ability to rest in God's plan, to trust His process, to not rush the journey. That's what shakes the atmosphere. Stillness is her strategy, and the enemy doesn't know what to do with a woman who can't be moved. The crown was never meant to be light. It was never intended to rest on your head without pressure. The weight you feel is not a sign that something is wrong. It's evidence that something greater is being built within you. You ask for purpose, but purpose doesn't come in the form of ease. It comes wrapped in burdens, hidden in trials, and disguised in delay. The pain you endure didn't come to break you, it came to shape you. You were not crowned in a moment of applause, but in a moment of crushing. And the crushing was necessary, because without pressure, the oil cannot flow. Every queen carries something that others can't see, and most wouldn't understand. It's not just about being seen in robes and glory. It's about enduring seasons of invisibility where nobody claps for you, nobody validates you, and you have to remind yourself that you're still chosen. That's when the crown is forged. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not in comfort, but in the fire. And if you're going to wear it with honor, you have to carry it with integrity. You have to learn how to stand when the load feels too heavy, how to lead when your heart is broken, how to smile when your soul is tired. That's royalty. That's responsibility. Too often we want the authority without the affliction, the platform without the process, the crown without the cross. But if you study anyone truly great, you'll find behind their strength a trail of suffering. Behind their wisdom, a history of weeping. Behind their power, a past they had to survive. The crown doesn't come to make you look good. It comes to make you grow. It doesn't just rest on your head. It calls you higher. And in calling you higher, it demands that you leave behind small thinking, shallow people, and survival mindsets. You see, every time you chose not to give up, the crown was being secured. Every time you kept walking when quitting would have been easier, your authority was being established. Every time you forgave when bitterness felt justified, your reign was expanding. The crown costs, but it's worth it. Because what you gain is not just for you. It's for the generations behind you. It's for the daughters who will look at your life and believe they can rise. It's for the women who have yet to find their voice. It's for the ones who didn't think survival was possible until they saw you thrive. So no, the crown isn't light. It was never meant to be. It's heavy because it holds history. It's weighty because it carries legacy. It presses down because it's reminding you that elevation isn't casual. It's consecrated. You've been trusted with the load because you've been chosen for the role. And the pressure you feel is proof that heaven sees you as capable. Not perfect, not unshaken, but capable. Built for it, formed for it, favored for it, and anointed to carry it with power and poise. When a queen walks, she doesn't just take steps, she shifts atmospheres. Her presence is not silent, even if she says nothing. Her authority is not hidden, even if she's unnoticed. Because her walk is not ordinary, it's prophetic. It declares something. It announces something to both the natural and the spiritual realm. Every time she moves forward in faith, something behind her is breaking. Something ahead of her is opening. Something around her is trembling. Because her walk isn't about movement, it's about momentum. It carries generations. It carries purpose. It carries weight. She is not walking for applause. She's not walking for validation. She's not walking to be seen. She's walking because she's been called. She's walking because standing still would be disobedience. She's walking because something within her knows that destiny doesn't come to those who wait in fear. It comes to those who move in obedience. And the power in her walk isn't just about where she's going. It's about what happens as she goes. Walls fall when she walks. Chains loosen when she walks. Doubt dissolves. Fear flees. Because she's not walking in her own strength. She's walking in the authority of the one who sent her. Every step she takes is intentional. It's not rushed. It's not reckless. It's rooted. She knows her stride is sacred. She knows her path is prepared. She doesn't have to run to prove she's serious. She doesn't have to shout to prove she's strong. The oil on her life is loud enough. The grace on her journey speaks volumes. The favor that follows her is louder than any opinion. And when she walks, everything that was resisting her has to reconsider. Not because of her name, but because of the name she walks with. Not because of her voice, but because of the power backing her silence. She doesn't walk just for herself. Her obedience unlocks courage in others. Her resilience awakens hope in watchers. Every time she keeps moving, despite the pain, despite the pressure, despite the past, she becomes a living testimony. Others see her walk and remember that they can still get up. They see her stride and realize that setbacks don't cancel destiny. She becomes a mirror of possibility, a picture of strength, a guide for those still trying to find their way. Her walk becomes a ministry, a message, a movement. That's why the enemy fears her forward motion. That's why every time she takes a step, she faces resistance. Because hell knows that if she ever keeps walking, she'll arrive at the place where the generational curses break. She'll reach the place where blessings overflow. She'll stand in the promise that was once just a prayer. And when she stands there, everything that doubted her, dismissed her, and tried to destroy her will have to bow. Her walk is warfare. It's prophecy in motion. She walks with fire in her eyes, peace in her hands, and destiny in her footsteps. She doesn't need a stage. She doesn't need a mic. She just needs the courage to keep walking. And when she does, the world will feel it. So now you understand, she doesn't walk because it's easy. She walks because she's chosen. She walks because quitting was never an option. She walks because she carries something sacred. And when she walks, heaven moves, hell trembles, and the earth makes way. Not because she's loud, but because she's anointed. Not because she's perfect, but because she's positioned. Every step, every tear, every test, it all prepared her for the power in her stride. She doesn't run because royalty never chases. She walks, and the world watches. She walks, and strongholds shatter. She walks, and destiny bows in reverence. A queen never runs. She walks, and the world trembles.